So, you're thinking about getting backyard chickens? Maybe dreaming of fresh eggs on demand or a little flock of feathered friends wandering around your yard? Well, before you dive in, there are a few things no one tells you about life with chickens. Let's just say it's not all fresh omelets and country charm. This list covers the real deal, 10 things you'll want to know before you're in too deep. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest chicken myths out there, that every hen is a little egg-making machine ready to produce breakfast on demand. Spoiler alert, these birds have their own agendas, and it doesn't always involve laying an egg every morning just because you're craving an omelet. First off, egg production depends on a whole bunch of factors. Age, breed, the season, even how much daylight they get. All these things affect how often your hens lay eggs. When they're in their prime, hens lay about 5 to 6 eggs per week, but even that can vary. If you're raising a high-production breed like the White Leghorn, you'll get more eggs in their best years. But if you have heritage breeds like Orpingtons or Plymouth Rocks, expect a slower rate. And let's not forget that egg production changes over time. Hens usually start laying when they're around 6 months old, but they don't keep it up forever. Most hens have what I like to call their peak egg-laying years, usually in the first 2 years of life. In those golden years, they might give you an egg nearly every day. But after that, production starts to drop, and by the time they're around 4 or 5, they're laying maybe a couple of times a week, if that. It's kind of like they hit early retirement and decide they're done with the full-time egg-laying gig. To make things even more interesting, hens also take breaks throughout the year. They'll usually slow down or stop laying completely in the winter months when daylight hours are shorter. Chickens need at least 14 hours of light per day to keep up steady egg production, which is why many backyard chicken keepers use supplemental lighting in the coop during the winter. But even then, some hens will take a winter vacation and won't lay, no matter how bright the coop is. Another thing people don't realize is the molting process. Once a year, chickens shed their old feathers and grow in new ones, which uses up a lot of their energy. During this time, egg production typically slows down or stops altogether. It's like their body decides, feathers first, eggs later. Now, does all this mean you won't get any eggs? Absolutely not. But it's best to think of your hens as part-time workers with flexible schedules rather than full-time breakfast suppliers. You'll have weeks with an abundance of eggs and then some dry spells, especially in the winter or as your hens age. So if you're setting yourself up for a daily fresh egg fix, you might want to keep a backup carton in the fridge for those off days. The reality is, chickens are more like feathered personalities than they are production lines. They do things on their own time, and sometimes they make you work a little harder for those eggs. But hey, that's part of the charm, right? Just know going in that your chickens aren't running a 24/7 breakfast bar, more like a seasonal pop-up with a side of maybe tomorrow. Here's something to keep in mind. Chickens, just like us, have their golden years. If you thought you were signing up for a non-stop egg-laying operation, think again. Hens actually experience something we'll call henopause, that age when they decide they're done laying eggs for good. Chickens can live up to 10 years, but their prime laying years are only about the first 3, 4. After that, they start to wind down and eggs become less frequent. By year 5, your hen might be more interested in sunbathing than laying. Imagine you're a hen. You work hard in your first couple of years, pumping out eggs regularly, maybe one almost every day. But around that 4-year mark, you start to feel like you've earned some time off. Suddenly, instead of an egg every day, you're giving 1 or 2 a week if you feel like it. And soon enough, you may decide you're done for good. At that point, your hen has officially entered retirement. A lot of new chicken keepers are surprised by how early hens slow down, but think about it. Wouldn't you want to take it easy after a few years of non-stop work? It's completely natural, and even the most productive breeds need to call it quits eventually. If you're planning on a steady egg supply, you may need to introduce younger hens every couple of years because your older gals will shift their focus to enjoying the good life. Perks like cozy coops, tasty snacks, and no more pressure to deliver breakfast. And hey, when that time comes, be prepared for a bit of a lifestyle change. Your hens will still be part of the family, just with a new job description. Maybe as yard buddies, compost helpers, or just decorative lawn ornaments with an attitude. So when they reach retirement age, don't be surprised if they expect you to stick around, coop and all, for the slower, egg-free years ahead. So you're thinking about bringing home some chickens? Well, hold on to your coop. These feathery friends aren't just going to munch on your leftover spaghetti and call it a day. Chickens have specific dietary needs that go beyond a free buffet of kitchen scraps. Imagine having a house guest who only eats gourmet meals. Yeah, that's your chicken. First up, let's talk about their main dish, quality commercial feed. This is the bread and butter of their diet, packed with the right mix of grains, protein, and vitamins essential for keeping them healthy and productive. If you skimp on feed, you might find yourself dealing with weaker eggs or, worse, no eggs at all. Think of it as a subscription service. You're paying for that egg delivery, so make sure it's top-notch. Now let's not forget calcium. Laying hens have a serious calcium appetite because they need it to create strong eggshells. You can supplement their diet with crushed oyster shells or limestone grit, but don't mix it directly into their feed. Instead, keep it available separately so they can snack on it as needed. Without adequate calcium, you might end up with soft or even no eggs. Definitely not the breakfast surprise you were hoping for. Water is another crucial element. Chickens can drink up to a quart of water a day, especially in hot weather, so make sure they have fresh, clean water at all times. It's like their version of a hydration station, and let's be honest, they can get a bit messy with it. If you want to avoid a mini swimming pool in the coop, be prepared to change the water daily. Budget-wise, expect to spend around $15 to $25 a month on feed for a small flock. If you're feeling generous, you can throw in some treats like dried mealworms or cracked corn, but don't overdo it. Once they get a taste of goodies, they'll start giving you those hungry eyes every time you walk into the kitchen. And remember, not everything in your kitchen is safe for them. Keep away foods like raw potatoes, chocolate, and anything too salty. Feeding chickens isn't just about tossing scraps, it's about providing them a balanced diet that keeps them happy and healthy. Bringing home chickens is nothing like adopting a goldfish that just needs food and water. Nope, chickens are more like that high-maintenance friend who needs constant attention and regular vet visits. Let's dig into what you really need to know about their health care. First, be on the lookout for common issues. Mites and lice can invade faster than you can say free range, causing itching and discomfort. You might end up battling these little critters with dust baths and possibly a vet visit if they refuse to leave. It's a bit like pest control for your flock. Then, there are respiratory infections. Yep, chickens can catch colds too. Look out for symptoms like coughing, sneezing, and lethargy. You'll find yourself wondering if they need their own version of chicken soup to get better. And let's not forget about egg-laying problems. If your hens aren't laying as expected, it could signal stress or dietary deficiencies. Picture yourself scratching your head in the coop asking, "What did I do to deserve this?" Now let's discuss costs. Caring for your flock isn't just about cuddles. You might spend $100 to $300 a year on veterinary care, depending on how many chickens you have. This doesn't include preventive measures or emergencies. It's similar to having a pet dog, but this one can fly. You'll also need a DIY approach. Regular health checks are essential for spotting issues early. Watch for abnormal droppings or changes in eating habits. If something seems off, take note. Think of yourself as a chicken detective, so if you're considering chickens, be aware they come with healthcare needs. It's not just about enjoying fresh eggs, it's about keeping your feathered friends happy and healthy so you can enjoy those delicious omelets in peace. Let's say you've just moved in a lovely flock of hens, thinking you're about to enjoy the serene life of backyard farming. But suddenly your quiet neighborhood turns into a scene straight out of a reality show. Picture this, your chickens are the stars, and they're not afraid to make their presence known. First, there's the noise. Chickens can squawk like they're auditioning for a Broadway musical. You might think, it's just a few clucks. But trust me, when the sun rises and those hens are feeling chatty, your neighbors will start rolling their eyes. The last thing you want is to explain to Mr. Thompson next door why your hens sound like they're having a late-night rave when he's trying to enjoy his morning coffee. And then there are the smells. Yes, chickens produce manure, and while you may find the scent of fresh hay charming, your neighbors might not share your enthusiasm. If your coop isn't cleaned regularly, you could end up with a smelly situation that draws more than just complaints. Imagine your neighbor's face when he catches a whiff while mowing the lawn. Yikes! Cleaning your coop is crucial, and you'll need to get your hands dirty. Think about it like this. You're not just caring for your hens, you're also keeping your neighbors happy. Regular cleanups will help minimize odors and make sure your backyard doesn't become a poultry potty. But wait, there's more. Chickens are also escape artists. One minute they're happily pecking away in the yard, and the next they're strutting down the street like they own the place. Imagine your neighbors trying to catch a runaway hen while you stand there, popcorn in hand, enjoying the show. You might find yourself apologizing profusely and promising to install a better fence. In the end, keeping chickens isn't just about having fresh eggs, it's also about being a good neighbor. So prepare for some coop drama and remember, happy hens mean happy neighbors, or at least fewer late-night visits from the local animal control. So you set up your backyard coop and everything seems peaceful until the sun begins to set. Suddenly you feel like you're living in a wildlife documentary. Picture this, you're sipping your evening tea, and out of the corner of your eye, you spot a raccoon sizing up your flock like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Those cute hens you've been raising are now prime targets for some hungry critters. Let's break down the usual suspects. First on the list are raccoons. These masked bandits are clever and crafty. They can open latches and even tip over poorly secured coops. If you thought your hens were the only ones who enjoyed a midnight snack, think again. Then there are foxes. These sly hunters can dig under fences faster than you can say chicken dinner. If you live near woods or open fields, you might find yourself in a game of cat and mouse, or in this case, chicken and fox. Don't forget about hawks. They may soar gracefully above, but they've got their eyes on your flock. In fact, studies show that hawks can take out small birds in a flash, and your little hens could be on their radar. They're the aerial assassins of the poultry world. To keep your feathered friends safe, you'll need to fortify your coop like a mini fortress. Start with strong, sturdy materials and secure latches. Bury fencing a foot underground to prevent digging, and cover the top with netting to keep aerial attackers at bay. If you think this sounds excessive, remember that about 30% of backyard chicken keepers report losses to predators. That's a sobering statistic that might just make you double-check your coop locks. And hey, nothing says peace of mind like knowing your hens aren't a predator's next meal. In short, keeping chickens is not just about feeding them and gathering eggs, it's also a matter of predator-proofing your property. Because in this backyard farming adventure, your chickens might just become the star of a thriller called Escape from Coop Island. You might think your hens are the hardest workers in the yard, but come winter, they turn into expert couch potatoes. If you've been counting on those fresh eggs during the colder months, it's time for a reality check. Do chickens lay eggs year-round, you ask? Well, unless you've got a heated coop and some bright artificial lights, the answer is a resounding no. When winter hits, the daylight hours shrink faster than your enthusiasm for shoveling snow. Hens need around 14 hours of light each day to keep laying. Without that sunlight, they basically hit the snooze button on egg production. This phenomenon is called molting, and it's like a vacation for your chickens, only they're not going to a sunny beach. They're shedding feathers and taking a break, leaving you with a coop full of fluff and 0 eggs. Statistics show that egg production can drop to as low as 50% during the winter months. That's a staggering change for anyone expecting a steady supply of breakfast fixings. Some folks might even find themselves feeling like they're running a feather factory with very little output. And don't forget the mess. When hens start molting, you'll find feathers everywhere, like you're living in a giant pillow fight. If you're anything like me, you might find those stray feathers stuck to your clothes, making you feel like you're perpetually underdressed for a poultry fashion show. So, while your hens enjoy their extended spa break, you'll have to figure out how to deal with their feathered antics and the lack of eggs. It's a bit like a pet hamster deciding it's time to go on a hunger strike. Unexpected and mildly frustrating. You'll still love them, but you might start daydreaming about spring when they'll get back to business and lay those beautiful eggs again. Owning chickens might seem like a charming, laid-back hobby. Maybe you've seen videos of people casually strolling through their backyard, tossing treats to clucking hens, and sipping coffee while collecting warm eggs. Well, let me tell you, reality is a bit more hands-on. Every morning, it's a routine. You'll wake up possibly groggy and in desperate need of caffeine, and before you even think about breakfast for yourself, you'll find yourself stumbling out to the coop. It's like a commitment to a never-ending game of guess who, because you'll need to check each chicken to make sure they're all healthy and accounted for. And believe me, you'll start to recognize each of their quirky personalities. Who's the diva who needs extra attention, and who's the sneaky one always trying to escape? Feeding is another thing. Chickens can't just fend for themselves, they expect you to be their personal chef. You'll be measuring out grains, checking their water supply, and maybe tossing in some fresh greens. And if you think they'll be happy with just any old feed, think again. These birds have standards. They'll turn their beaks up at the slightest hint of anything that resembles a cheap meal. Is this organic? What do you think I am, a peasant? They seem to say. Then there's the cleaning. The coop doesn't magically stay clean just because you wish it to. You'll be shoveling out bedding, scrubbing waterers, and trying to stay one step ahead of the smell that could rival a teenage boy's room. And on those particularly messy days, you might find yourself covered in more feathers than your chickens. You'll start to feel like a walking feather duster, with bits of fluff clinging to your clothes, hair, and, if you're unlucky, even your coffee cup. You'll also need to monitor their health. This means checking for signs of illness, which can be tricky since chickens are not the best at vocalizing their woes. One day, they're pecking at your shoes like it's the best thing ever. The next, they might be looking at you like you owe them money. Trust me, you'll want to get to know common chicken ailments because those vet bills can pile up quicker than a hen on a nest. In short, raising chickens is a commitment, almost like adopting a group of needy roommates who have no concept of personal space or quiet time. But you'll find yourself wrapped up in their silly antics and egg-citing personalities, and somehow the work will feel worth it, even if you do occasionally find feathers in your hair during a business meeting. If you've ever seen those adorable little chicks peeping around, you know they're the ultimate heart stealers. One minute they're fluff balls, and the next they're towering over your garden like mini dinosaurs. You blink, and suddenly they're strutting around like they own the place, complete with feathered hairstyles that would make any hipster jealous. But here's the kicker. Not all those fluffy cuties are destined to be the charming hens you've dreamed of. Some might just be roosters in disguise. Ever been jolted awake by a rooster that was supposed to be a sweet little hen? It's not the gentle wake-up call you imagined. More like, "Good morning, neighbor. Hope you enjoy the sound of a chicken choir at 5 a.m." The growth rate of chicks is astonishing. One moment they're fitting in your hand, and the next they're requiring their own special seating at the family table. You might even find yourself asking, "Where did all my cute little chicks go?" They grow quicker than a bad hair day can unfold. You'll want to double-check the gender of your chicks because while some breeds are easy to identify, others can be sneaky undercover agents, blending in until one day they decide to show off their crowing talents. If you hear unexpected crowing while sipping your morning coffee, it might not be the neighbor's dog. You could end up with a personal alarm clock that comes with feathers, sass, and a penchant for early mornings. Enjoy the cuteness while it lasts, because your little fluff balls will soon be big, bold, and possibly a little noisy, reminding you that keeping chickens is an adventure, not just a hobby. If you've ever been in high school, you know how social cliques work. There are the popular kids, the nerds, and the ones who just want to be left alone. Chickens are no different. They come with their own social hierarchy that can be as complicated as your old algebra class. There's always a pecking order, and trust me, those pecks can be quite literal. When you introduce new hens into an existing flock, prepare for a showdown worthy of a reality TV drama. The established hens will establish their dominance quicker than you can say chicken dance. You might see them strutting around, puffing up their feathers, and giving each other the stink eye like it's a scene from a teen movie. If you thought high school was tough, just wait until you see the mean girls of the coop in action. Now, don't take this too lightly. Aggression can happen, especially if you're trying to add new flock members. Hens can be picky about their friends, and some of them might try to assert their status by giving the newbies a few friendly nudges. Sometimes it can feel like you're watching a group of hens audition for the next big chicken reality show. Survivor, Coop Edition. Anyone? So while you're busy playing referee in your chicken social club, remember that keeping the peace is key. Make sure everyone has enough space, food, and places to hide when the pecking order gets too intense. Who knew that raising chickens would turn out to be such a wild ride through the ups and downs of avian adolescence? Just be prepared for some feathered drama, and you might find yourself chuckling at the antics of your clucking socialites.